Today we are going to discuss about Shannon's first theorem. So this Shannon was the one who gave us the idea about the transmission of the digital bits over the channel. He postulated the Shannon's-Hartley capacity theorem for the channel, and he also stated or formulated an algorithm to obtain the source encoding method, famously known as Shannon's encoding algorithm, or in association with another person called as Fano, there is another algorithm called as Shannon-Fano. So these were the types of initial source encoding methods which were used in the earlier days. So according to Shannon's first theorem, what we are going to do is we are going to obtain the code which is designed such that the average length of the code L is always lesser than, yesterday we had stated the condition that the average length of the code that we have obtained will always be greater than the entropy of the source. So this entropy HR of S is the R array, the entropy of R array source. The source need not always be binary, but if it is an in general R array source, then the average length of the code so obtained using the Shannon's first theorem will always be greater than HR of S. We have just stated this statement yesterday. Now let us try to obtain the procedure or the proof for that. Whenever we calculated the code redundancy, we calculated what is called as average code length. So this code length will be necessary in order to evaluate what is called as code efficiency. So in order to improve the code efficiency, the average length should always approach to the entropy of the source. In that case, the efficiency will tend towards 100%. So to achieve this, in order to reduce the average length of the code, we are going to make use of Shannon's algorithms later on. Now we will see how to deduce this relation called as L should be greater than or equal to HR of S. So let us assume that if Li happens to be a fraction, what is this Li? Li is the length of the code obtained by evaluating or by knowing the probability of occurrence of a bit. So let this be a fraction which is obtained by the formula called as Li is equal to log of 1 over Pi, which is log to base R, because I am considering a R array source. If it is binary, in place of R you are going to write it as 2. If it is ternary, you are going to write it as 3. If it is quaternary, you are going to substitute R as 4, so on and so forth. If Li happens to be a fraction which is obtained in using this formula, we are going to round off. It will be rounded off to the next integer. So what we will do is, whenever we are going to find the length of the individual symbol, code word for the individual symbols, we are going to find this log of 1 over Pi to R.
Ma'am, your voice is breaking, ma'am.
Voice is breaking now?
My voice is lagging, ma'am.
Lagging, maybe network issue. It is the network issue.
Breaking.
How about now? Now is it fine?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. So I'll continue. So this log of 1 over Pi to base R is evaluated to find out the length of individual code word for a given symbol of probability Pi. So this is rounded off to the next integer by adding 1. So therefore, this length Li will always be less than 1 plus log to base R of 1 over Pi. This is known to us. Okay. So this is an approximation that we are going to do for rounding off. This is done to round off the number of bits, number of code words or code alphabets, because we cannot write half an alphabet or 3/4 of an alphabet. Therefore, it is rounded to the next integer value. Now we are going to change this base to binary. So by using the logarithmic characteristics, we can replace the r, base r, with base 2 by taking the ratio with respect to log to base 2. Then li less than or equal to 1 plus log to base 2 of 1 over pi divided by log to base 2 with r. So this is what we are going to obtain. This is just a manipulation, simple manipulation. So whatever the R array code that we are writing, we are just converting it into binary code representation. This is done for the base, for our mathematical purpose. So next we are going to multiply for this entire equation, multiply with pi throughout and take the summation, taking summation for all the symbols, for q symbols with I running from 1 to q. So what we are going to do? We are going to do this process for all possible symbols that are emitted out of the given source. 1 over log of r to base 2 is a constant, so I'll keep it outside. So summation I running from 1 to q log 2 to log 1 over pi to base 2 into pi will be present, less than or equal to summation pi, summation I is equal to 1 to q pi into li will be less than or equal to summation I running from 1 to q pi plus 1 over log r to base 2 summation I running from 1 to q pi into log to base 2 of 1 over pi. So this is what we are going to obtain by manipulating slightly the above expression. This is done for the convenience to include all possible code words that are emitted out of the given source. So if you look at this expression and this expression, these are nothing but the entropy of the source in binary. So these are nothing but the entropy of the source, if at all, if they were producing the binary code words, then I can just replace the entire summation with hs, and you can see here the middle part, this middle part happens to be the expression which is representing the average length of the code called as L. So this is L, which is less than or equal to summation of all the probabilities of the symbols starting from 1 to q. This will amount, or this will add up to equal to 1. So it will be 1 plus hs divided by log r to base 2. So this is what we are going to obtain, but we know that hs divided by log r to base 2 is equal to the source entropy of an R array system. The source entropy of an R array system. So I can simply write this as HR of S is less than or equal to L less than or equal to 1 plus HR of S. So L happens to be, should always be greater than HR of S. It is always greater than HR of S. This is for the reason that HR of S is an ideal scenario, whereas L is a practical code word length, whereas L is the practical code word length considering the probability of appearance of the symbol. The probability of appearance of the symbol. So this expression, whatever we obtained just now, this expression or this relation is what is given by Shannon's first theorem. This is what we call it as Shannon's first theorem or Shannon's fundamental theorem. So this gives us an idea about the average length of the code constructed either in a binary source or an other source. Then we can obtain the system relation or the average length relation, something like this. So this is what we have obtained. I mean, this gives an idea about how to start off with, for a given source of R array system, how to construct the code and what will be the average length of the code that is so obtained. It will always be greater than the entropy of the actual source that you are trying to figure out. So this is the Shannon's first theorem. And so now, based on this postulation or the relation that we have obtained, Shannon has discovered what is called as Shannon's encoding algorithm. So what he did was, depending on the Li, the average length of each symbol, considering the probability of their occurrence, he said that Li is equal to log of pi, 1 over pi to base of r. Of course, larger the pi, lower is the length of the code. Lesser the pi, greater is the length of the code word. So this was also previously determined by a person called as Morse code. So you might have heard of Morse and you might have also heard of Morse code. So what is this Morse code? Morse code mainly used of, it is the very first source coding technique which came into existence for communication purpose. So Morse code is one of the basic encoding method that is used in the source in order to convey the text information. So instead of using the alphabets of A, B, C, D, E up to 26 characteristics, instead of having all the letters which has been used, I think you might have not come across what is called as initial days newspaper printing. Have you seen initial days newspaper printing? There used to be a stamp sort of a thing where letters would be written like this, or not exactly like the letter A, like they used to have the mirror image of it. This used to be dipped in an ink and then they used to place everything side by side to form a sentence on a newspaper. So this was how on the initial days the telegram or the newspaper were sent across. So in order to send such characters, lengthy characters over the telegram system was very tedious task, because they had to keep all the 26 characters and they were supposed to keep one beside the other, form a sentence and then send. So instead of that, which was not very secure enough, so instead of sending the information or text information as is, for the military purpose they made use of Morse actually came across the method of sending the information in the form of dots and dashes. So dot and dash were used in place of actual English characteristics. So how he did this Morse coding was, wherever, so he just had a table starting from A, B, C, D, E all up to Z. He first evaluated how many of these 26 characters are repeating in more number. So we know that the vowel called as E will appear in a larger number when compared to that of the letter Z. So what he did was, or if you compare it with Q, E was most frequently appearing This was more frequent, this was less frequent. So keeping that in mind, he used E. To represent E, he just used a dot, whereas to represent Q, he used a sequence of dots and dashes. So if you go and look in the internet, you will see all possible all possible Morse code for A to Z. You will see that in your, if you go and search in Google. So even for the special characteristics like question mark, exclamatory mark, double quotes, even all these special characters would be represented using only two characteristics, which are dots and dashes. So this also ensured security. This was an encoding method which gave them a security, and also it helped in finding it much easier to send the code quickly, because they need not have to keep searching the alphabets in order to imprint them on a sheet of paper. So this was how the Morse code came into existence. So here the Shannon algorithm is basically defined for a binary codes, to construct the binary codes, not a ternary or quaternary codes. So we are going to look at how to the different the steps involved in obtaining a Shannon's encoding procedure for the given discrete source. So we will see the step 1. Please follow through this, because in problems we are going to follow these steps. So the step 1 in the Shannon algorithm is, we have to list all the symbols in the decreasing order of their probability. That means if there is a source called as S, emitting the symbols S1, S2, so on up to SQ, if they have the probabilities with probabilities called as P, represented by P1, P2, so on PQ, we are going to arrange this set in such a way that P1 is greater than or equal to P2, is greater than or equal to P3, so on greater than or equal to PQ. So we are going to arrange the symbols in such a way that they are arranged in the decreasing order of their probability. Once we have done this, in the step 2, in step 2 of Shannon's algorithm, we are going to compute the sequence. So we are going to compute the sequence. Okay, with what is the sequence is, we are going to form an equation called as alpha 1 is equal to 0. Then we have alpha 2 is equal to the probability of the first symbol plus the alpha 1, which is nothing but P1. Alpha 3 will be the probability of symbol 2 plus alpha 2, which is equal to P2 plus P1. Alpha 4 is equal to P3 plus alpha 3, which is equal to P3 plus P2 plus P1. So this goes on till we obtain alpha q plus 1, which will be equal to PQ plus R of Q, alpha Q, PQ plus alpha Q, which will be equal to PQ plus PQ minus 1, so on, plus P3 plus P2 plus P1. So like this we will find out the sequence first. Then we have the step 3. So we will come to the step 3. So this is the binary coding method, as I already told. So using this binary coding method, we determine, in step 3, we are going to determine the smallest integer value, of Li using the inequality 2 raised to Li is always greater than 1 over Pi for all I values starting from 1 to Q. So we are going to find out the smallest possible Li value which is going to satisfy this condition. Once this is done, in the step 4, this will give us what should be the minimum length of the code word that should be assigned to each code will be decided by this inequality. In step 4, we are going to expand the decimal number alpha, I in binary from up to Li places, L suffix I places, neglecting expansion beyond Li places. Then in step 5, we are going to remove the binary point to get the desired code. So this is the procedural steps that are used in Shannon's encoding procedure or Shannon's encoding algorithm. So we are going to take one example here, then you will be able to understand. So look at this example and then you will be able to understand. This theoretical steps will convey very less information. So take down this example, then as and when we solve, you can ask doubts if there are any. Apply Shannon's encoding algorithm to the following set of messages and obtain the code efficiency and redundancy of the code word. Obtain code efficiency and code redundancy of the code set. Okay, so the given messages are like this. M1 is with a probability 1 by 8. M2 is with the probability 1 by 16. M3 is with the probability 3 by 16. M4 is with the probability 1 by 4. M5 is with the probability 3 by 8. Now, what is the first step? In step 1, we were supposed to arrange the given symbols in their descending order of the probability. So, in order to do that, first we need to make all the denominators here in the top the common ones. So, you can see the highest is 16. So, I am going to make all other fractions to a common denominator which is 16. So, 1 by 8 in terms of like LCM being 16 is, it is 2 by 16. This is 1 by 16. This does not require any change. This is 3 by 16. This happens to be 4 by 16. Correct? M4 is 4 by 16 and 3 by 8 is 6 by 16. Now I am going to arrange this in the descending order. Now it is simple for me. So first is M5, which is 6 by 16, the highest probability. Then comes M4, which is 4 by 16. Then comes M3, which is 3 by 16. Then M2, which is 2 by 16. Then, sorry, M1, which is 2 by 16. M2, it is 1 by 16. So, these are the arrangements that we need to do. This we call it as P1. This we call it as P2. Remember, the assignment of P1, P2, P3 will be done after arranging them in the descending order. So please remember this, because this is very essential in the coming step. So in step 2, we are going to form the sequence here. In step 2, we are going to form the sequence. What is the first sequence? We are going to find out alphas. So as we know, alpha 1 is 0. It will start with a 0. Then alpha 2 will be equal to P1 plus alpha 1. So P1 is a value that I already know. P1 is 6 by 16. Alpha 1 is 0. So the answer is 6 by 16. Find out the value of 6 by 16. Don't keep it in fractions. Write it in terms of decimal and tell me the value later on. Alpha 3 will be equal to P2 plus alpha 2, which is equal to P2 plus P1, which gives us the value. P2 is 4 by 16. Then P1 is 6 by 16. This gives us 10 by 16. Next, the next value is alpha 4, which is P3 plus alpha 3, which is equal to P3 plus P2 plus P1, which gives us the value P3 is 3 by 16 plus 10 by 16 will be equal to 13 by 16. Then alpha 5 is P4 plus alpha 4, which is equal to, I am going to write this directly, 2 by 16 plus 13 by 16, which is equal to 15 by 16. The last one, it is alpha 6, which is equal to P5 plus alpha 5, which is 1 by 16 into 15 by 16. 1 by 16 plus 15 by 16, which is equal to 16 by 16. So alpha 6 is equal to 1. So once I have found out all the sequences till q plus 1, then I am done with this step 2. Coming to step 3, please give the decimal values of this. Please give me the decimal values of 6 by 16, 10 by 16, 13 by 16, 15 by 16. So this value in decimal is 0.375. Alpha 3 will be equal to 0.625. 13 by 16 happens to be 0.8125. Please verify these values. And alpha 5 is going to be 0.9375. So these are the values. So now what we will do, we will find out the smallest integer for different values of I. What we are going to do, we are going to find out smallest integer value of Li. We are going to find out this, which satisfies this inequality statement. 2 raised to Li should always be greater than or equal to 1 over Pi for all I values starting from 1, 2, 3, so on up to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for all the 5 symbols. So now we will go with, for the first case, when I is equal to 1, it is, the inequality statement is given by 2 raised to L1 should be greater than 1 over P1, which means 2 raised to L1 should be greater than or equal to 16 by 6. What is 16 by 6 value? One of you please tell me. What's the value of 16 by 6?
2.67.
2 point? 667. Okay. So you need to substitute a L1 value such that this value L1 should be such that this inequality will be satisfied. That means for L is equal to 1, on the left hand side you have 2, but value 2 is not greater than 2.66, so you cannot take L1 as equal to 1. But if you substitute L1 is equal to 2, you just say the value on the left hand side, it will be equal to 4, which is a value greater than 2.66. Now this is the smallest possible integer which is going to satisfy the given inequality. Therefore L1 is equal to 2. Now coming to the value I is equal to 2. Now if you consider I is equal to 2, 2 raised to L2 should be greater than the second P2 value is what? P2 value is 4 by 16. So this should be greater than 16 by 4. Correct? What is 16 by 4? What is 16 by 4? This value should be greater than or equal to 4 value. The minimum L2 value which is satisfying this is again 2. If I substitute L2 as equal to 2, it is exactly equal to 4. So this is satisfied. Then L is equal to I is equal to 3. That gives me 2 raised to L3 should be greater than the third one is how much? 4 I guess. Correct? Sorry, 4 by 16 is already over. 3 by 16. Right? So P3 is 16 by 3. So what is 16 by 3?
5.333.
5.333. So we need to find out an L3 which is going to satisfy this inequality. 2 will not satisfy
3, ma'am.
again. So now 3 I need to
3.
substitute, where value 8 is always greater than 5.33. So L3 value is equal to 3. Now coming to I is equal to 4, 2 raised to L4 should be greater than 16 by 2. Because P4 is 2 by 16. This condition gets satisfied when 2 raised to L power 4 is greater than or equal to 8. So again L4 can take a value equal to 3 because it gives me the exact value equal to 8. Coming to I is equal to 5, the last one, 2 raised to L5 should be greater than 16 value. This means I need to substitute an L5 such that I am going to get a minimum value as 16. So L5 happens to be the value equal to 4. Because this satisfies, L5 is equal to 4 satisfies the inequality. Once we have done this, this is what? This is the step 3 of our Shannon's algorithm. Now coming to the step 4, what we need to do? We need to consider the decimal values that we have obtained, that is from alpha 1 to alpha 6, whatever we have obtained, we need to make use of these alphas and expand them in binary and truncate them to the length that we have found out. That we are going to do now. So in step 4 we are going to do the expansion. Alpha 1 we already know it is equal to 0. So it remains as is. Consider alpha 2. Now the decimal value for this is equal to 0.375. Correct? So using this 0.375, we are going to obtain the decimal equivalent of this, binary equivalent of this 0.375. How we are going to expand this in binary is, we are going to take this value 0.375, multiply with the base value that is in binary, the base value is equal to 2, multiply it with 2, check if there is any carry. So when you multiply, you are going to get a value called as 0.75. So the carry is 0. There is no carry over here. Now consider this 0.75 that you have obtained, multiply it by 2. You get a value called as 1.5. Correct? But what you are going to do? You are going to write this as 0.5 with a carry 1. Okay. Now you are going to take this 0.5, multiply it with 2. You are going to obtain a value called as 1. So the decimal value after this is left over is 0. So 0, 0 with a carry 1. You are going to write it like this. That means alpha 2, which is having the decimal value as 0.375 in decimal, written as like this, 10 outside the braces, can be written in terms of binary as it is read from top to bottom, dot with a dot, 0, 1, 1. This is written in binary like this. I think you might have done this type of conversion when you were in when you had studied basic electronics. So it is similar to that. So we are going to write the or expansion of 375 in terms of binary. Then we take up alpha 3, which is having the decimal value as 0.625. We are going to follow the same procedure. 0.625 multiplied by 2 gives us a value 1.25. So we are going to just take the decimal part with carry 1. So this is with a carry 1. Then 0.25 is considered multiplied by 2. So here I obtain 0.5. Carry is 0 in this case. Then 0.5 into 2 gives us the 0, 0 with a carry 1. Okay, so it is read from top to bottom again. So alpha 3, which is 0.625 in decimal, is written in terms of binary as 0.101. Coming to the next value, the value of alpha 4 is equal to 0.8125 in decimal. We are going to do the same procedure. 0.8125 multiply by 2, you are going to get 1.625. So it is 0.625 with carry 1. Then 0.625 multiply by 2, you are going to get 1.25. So it is 0.25 with carry 1. Then 0.25 multiply by 2 is 0.5 with carry 0. Then 0.5 multiply by 2 gives me 0 with carry 1. Again read from top to bottom. So alpha 4 is 0.8125 in decimal, can be written as 0.1101 in binary. So this is done. Next, the last one is alpha 5 with a value 0.9375 in decimal. So this is 9375. Yeah, 0.9375. 0.9375 multiply by 2 gives us 1.875. So it is 0.875 with a carry 1. I'll write it in short. Then 0.875 multiply by 2 gives us 1.75, which is 0.75 with carry 1. 0.75 multiply by 2 is 1.5. So it is 0.5 with a carry 1. 0.5 into 2 is 0 with a carry 1. So alpha 5 in decimal, which is 0.9375, can be written in terms of binary as 0.111 in binary. So once you have done this, so there is decimal points everywhere. Look at the result that we have obtained. We have decimal points everywhere. So what is given in the step 5, we shall go back and check here. In the rule, whenever we are following the Shannon's encoding method, in step 5 what we need to do, remove the binary point to get the desired code value, and we need to truncate it to the places which gives us the value till equal to Li. So we are going to truncate the decimal values till Li places, and then we are going to remove the binary point. That's what we are going to do now. So check it here. For the L1, the first symbol, the L1 is equal to 2. That means coming to here, the alpha 1 is 0. Its decimal value and binary value both are 0. Therefore, the code word for alpha 1 is equal to 0 and L1 is equal to 2. Therefore, code for this corresponds to which message? This corresponds to which message? Can you tell me? This corresponds to which message? Alpha 1. Okay, so let me just name it as symbol S1. The code word for S1 is 00. Coming to alpha 2, its decimal equivalent is obtained as 011 in binary, and L2 is also with a value equal to 2. So code for S2, the message symbol S2 is written as, I need only two places over here. So I am going to consider only the first two and neglect the third one. So it is 01. Considering alpha 3 is with a decimal value 0.101 in binary. L3 is with a value equal to 3. So code word for S3 is given as 101. Alpha 4 1101 in binary, and L4 is also equal to 3. So code word for S4, again we are going to take only the first 3 and neglect the fourth one. So it is 110. Alpha 5 is equal to 0.1111 in binary. So L5 is equal to 4. So code word for S5 is 1111. Okay, so this is how we are going to obtain the symbols of the different probabilities using the Shannon's algorithm encoding procedure. So I'm going to finally tabulate the messages over here. First is M5, then M4, M3, M1 and M2. This was the arrangement with the probabilities 3 by 8, 1 by 4, 3 by 16, 1 by 8, 1 by 16. The code words that are assigned to these are 00, 01, 101, 110, 1111. So the length of these codes are 2, 2, 3, 3 and 4. So now we have obtained the code words using the Shannon's algorithm, and you check whether this is instantaneous code or not. Look at this table and tell me whether this is an instantaneous code or not. I hope you have followed the procedure. One of you please respond.
Instantaneous, ma'am.
Instantaneous, right? So Shannon-Fano's coding procedure also ensures that whatever the code that we have constructed is an instantaneous one, and there is no ambiguity in the reconstruction of the symbols when we have received the same at the receiver. So for this code that we have obtained, calculate. Now you have to do just the mathematical calculation. Calculate code efficiency and code redundancy. Do it fast. It will hardly take 2-3 minutes. Do it. So I'll just write the equations for code redundancy and code efficiency. So efficiency is given by eta c, which is the ratio of hs over the average length, where average length is given by summation I running from 1 to q pi into li, small li. Li is here. You have to use this li. This is your li. You need to use this. Pi is here. So everything is tabulated. You can just check it out. This is the average length you are going to obtain. Then hs is given by summation I running from 1 to q pi into log to base 2 of 1 over pi. You can find the entropy of this source and find this ratio of code redundancy, code efficiency. in code redundancy is given by r suffix eta c, which is equal to 1 minus eta c. So using these expressions, you find out the mathematical part and tell me, at least you find out the code efficiency and tell me.
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am,
Yes, tell
we
me.
are,
Hmm?
ma'am, in step 5 we are neglecting one bits, ma'am. One bits, right, ma'am?
Yeah, in step y, see, we have already found out
Is
what should
that
be the
going to
length of the
affect
code.
in decode
Pardon
process?
me?
Ma'am, is that going to be affect in the decoding process?
No. In the transmitter itself, we are going to do this coding. Okay, we are in the transmitter itself. We are going to do this 0001, 101, 110. All these we are going to do. The decoder will also know that this is the length. This tabulation will already be present on the receiver section also. So it will have no confusion. Whatever the code word that you are going to send, the receiver structure will know as soon as what will be shared is, let's suppose this is your code table. This table will be present both on the transmitter section and on the receiver section. So this is what we are going to provide it to both transmitter and the receiver. Even li is not provided, this much is sufficient. Even probability is also not sufficient. Against the code symbol, against the symbols, we are going to send the code. This table of source and the source symbols and the code words are provided on both transmitter and the receiver, so the receiver can easily do the instantaneous decoding procedure whenever the stream of bits are arriving. So it will have no confusion.
Okay.
There will be no confusion in the receiver side, because the table will anyways going to be shared on both the sides. Okay, so find this code efficiency and tell me, at least do that part. So we will continue this procedure in the next class again. I mean, we'll do one more exercise. So in the coming lab, we are going to have this Shannon's encoding procedure, which will be done using Scilab, and we have the extended source, extended source process also to find the entropy. So that those two programs we are going to discuss in the coming lab. So if it is necessary, I'm going to take one more class tomorrow, or else we will, whenever I'm going to, I'll prepare a video for the lab part separately, and I'm going to share it with you before the next week's lab. So what I am planning is, the next week Monday, you might lose, the batch b1 might not get the lab session. So batch b1 will attend the lab along with batch b2, that is on Tuesday. So Tuesday morning 10 to 12, or 10 to 10 to 12, both batch b1 and b2, you people will have DC lab. Okay, because you will be missing the lab session, so therefore along with b2 b1 is also going to attend. So that's it. You find out the code efficiency and code redundancy for this particular problem. So we will meet again in
Ma'am,
the next class.
0.9368.
Code efficiency, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, 0.93.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the average length that you got?
2.25.
3 by 8 into 2, 1 by 4 into 2. Okay, just check once again. Entropy?
2.107.
Okay, entropy is correct. You check with the average length, and efficiency is somewhere around 86. So you just check.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so that's it. So we'll stop it over here. So we'll continue. If necessary, I will call for a special class tomorrow. Okay, so I thank you all for joining. You can all exit.